Hello, students. Welcome to Easy Elimu Learning Simplified. I am your teacher, Mr. Stanley Umbogo. So, students, in this session that we are about to have right now, uh, we are going to look at that is some of the thematic concerns or issues that are raised in an incident in the park. So remember, an incident in the park is a story written by Meza Mwangi, and it is the second story in the in the anthology that is A Silent Song and Other Stories. So earlier on, we had looked at that is the plot analysis of the story. We had looked at the plot analysis of the story, an incident in the park, and we also got to know about some of the events that we have in the story. That is the events involving the two constables and the fruit seller. In the story, there are also people who are mentioned. That is the what? The loafers. We have got the ice cream sellers and and even the workers among others. So in this session, dear students, I want us to look at some of the issues that the writer or the author Meja Mwangi is trying to communicate some of the message that he is trying to communicate in this story. So some of the thematic concerns that we have in an incident in the park. Number one, we are going to start by looking at poverty. So looking at the story that is an incident in the park, we get to learn that many of the characters in the story are struggling with poverty and financial hardship. So most of the characters that we have in the story are financially incapacitated. So this is seen in the fruit seller's efforts to earn money. And again, remember in the story, it is also seen in the idler's request for a cigarette, meaning that the idler that is mentioned in the story is not able to buy his own cigarette, and therefore he requests for a cigarette. Apart from that, we can also use the scene that is we can use what we are told about the two ice cream sellers who are unable to sell the ice cream because there are no people who are buying, yet the constables are everywhere trying to look for those who are breaking the law, or those who are not adhering to the rules and regulations. And again, that is why the first thing they do when they meet the fruit seller is that they ask for the license, that is for selling the fruits, he doesn't which he doesn't have. So most of the characters, just like we've seen, are struggling with poverty and financial hardship. So another thematic concern that is also raised in the story is that is problems of urbanization. So through the story, we get to understand that uh, there is urban population growth, and this urban population growth, dear students, is driven by migration and searching for jobs. So it has become, some of these issues have become very significant in cities like Nairobi, for example. So, however, the masses end up frustrated due to a skills mismatch in the labor market, and again, dwindling economy and poor governance. But every now and then, a misplaced person, rises with a start. So in a few seconds, you're told that the thousand or so strong swarm had been swallowed by the yawning concrete jungle. So urban poverty is also witnessed as many remain loitering and idling, reminding the park loungers just how many hours they had wasted, lying idle. So in the story, there is also a man is mentioned, that is a shaggy thin man who sat under a shrub. Uh, So those are one of the idlers. So there is also a hairy loafer who is also mentioned. So there is also one idler who is also mentioned and is said to be seated on the bank. That is on page 8. Then he also had some torn trouser legs and and horny toes. So those are some of the people who are just loitering and idling in the park. They have nothing to do, because remember we have talked about uh, the skills mismatch in the labor market, making many people not to be employed. So there is also evidence of poor hygiene. So we are told that the park is littered with debris, cigarette ends, and even butts. So the two gentlemen share puffs on the cigarette. One offers a full cigarette, and smoking in this zone could be a form of escapism from their poverty. So they can be using, the cigarette to, that is, forget about some of their sad realities. But remember, you won't forget about them forever. So we also told that the fruit seller has only 10 shillings, which he offers to the constables to spare him. He cannot afford to pay for the license or even the fine uh, that he already has on a different case. So this can as well be used to illustrate the theme of poverty that we had also that we started by discussing. So remember, we said that many characters are struggling, and the fruit seller is just one of them. So he's unable to pay for the license, or even pay for the fine that he had on another case. So we also have the theme of injustice, dear students. So in this theme or thematic concern, the fruit seller is unfairly targeted by the constables and is violently killed by a mob, even though he was simply trying to make a living. Remember, there was that issue about mistaken identity. So the fruit seller is mistaken by the mob for a thief, and as a result, he is stoned to death, and he loses his life. So this highlights the injustice and the prejudice that can be present in the society, especially in today's society. So we also have got this issue of social class, or we can call it that is social stratification, or we can call it of class, that is, or we can call it division of class. So the text also touches on the divide between the wealthy office workers and the poor. So working class people who frequent the park. So remember, we are told that at one, that is during lunchtime, a swarm of workers are are going for lunch break before returning to their offices. Yeah, so that is on page 7. We are told that in a few seconds, the thousand or so strong swarm had been swallowed up by the yawning concrete jungle. So those were the workers who were off for lunch. Uh-huh. And we also told that most of them were at fish and chip joints, where they dutifully swallowed that is soggy fried chips with uh, watered down ketchup. So that simply means that those who are working are able to afford such expensive meals. But we have got people who cannot even afford a meal, and we are told that one of them is the fruit seller, who maybe we assume that has now has no money to pay for his lunch, and the idlers and the loafers as well. So that tells us something about the division of class in the society. So the thematic concern that we have is conflicts between city authority and the street hawkers. So in the story, we are told that when two constables accost and demand licenses from the fruit seller, uh, they tell uh, they tell the fruit seller that he will only explain to the judge. So the fruit seller already has a case and is trying to sell to that is to afford to at least afford a fine. So he also pleads with the constables, that is the fruit seller, also pleads with the constables who say nothing at all. So he curses them and their and their that is in their family. So there is also another issue that is raised in the story, that is brutality. So the violence and the murder of the fruit seller demonstrate the potential for brutality and aggression in human behavior. Remember, he is attacked by the mob. He is attacked by the mob who mistakes him for a thief because they don't know the reason why the fruit seller is running. And again, the reason why the police or the two constables are after him. So the next issue that is also raised, dear students, is that is mob justice, or what we can call the social injustice. So when the fruit seller tries to run away from the two constables to avoid being arrested, he is lynched unknowingly by the people who are also at the park. So by the time the constables, by the time the constables, the two constables catch up, the fruit peddler lay like a broken and twisted ragdoll at the bottom of the ditch, meaning that he is already dead. So, before he dies, remember, he cries and pleads for mercy, but in vain. So, what followed is that uh, there was death. There was death. That will also bring us to another thematic concern, that is the theme of death. So the word thief also hovered over the assembled crowd. So mob universally condemns him, and it is impossible to tell from which mouth that is condemnation is issued. So ironically, the mob had had what was right, that is justice, fairly, quickly, and completely administered. So it is so sad that the fruit seller uh, finally loses his life. So another thematic concern that we can also talk about is isolation. So again, in the story, we get to understand that many of the characters in the story seem to be isolated and disconnected from others. So this is seen in the manner of in the kind of conversations that some of the characters have. So again, most of them sit in twos or threes. Uh-huh. And we also have those who sit alone. So people are isolated. Uh, Everyone is minding his or her business. So there is also that is the issue of abandonment. So remember, we are told that the fish pond, which was once a source of beauty and enjoyment, has been abandoned by the authorities and left to become overgrown with weeds. So this could symbolize the way that society often neglects and abandons certain areas or groups of people. So as brought out in the story. So that marks the end. That it marks the end of the issues that are raised from an incident in the park by Major Mwangi. So remember, I also mentioned the theme of death, which we can illustrate simply by looking at the scene or the event where the uh, fruit seller is murdered or lynched to death by members of the public. So until next time, dear students, and once again, thanks for watching. Bye.